very good evening to all who have just tuned in to Question Time on Islam, live from the Ahlebait studios with your host, Naveed Hussain. Alhamdulillah, once again, giving us great pleasure and honor to have our Islamic scholar, Syed Muhammad Musawi. May Allah give him a long and happy life so that he may clear our doubts, any misunderstanding that I and our viewers have across the globe on any issues pertaining to the religion of Islam or life in general. Sayyidina, a very good evening to you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you and all our brothers and sisters, and may Allah grant you and all of our believers, brothers, sisters, all over the world, His best blessings and choicest bounties, and keep us with those who are always grateful to the bounties of Allah, those who always remember the great bounties of Allah and thank Allah so that the bounties remain and the bounties continue and increase. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. I start with a hadith from the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his holy progeny, in which the Prophet says, anyone who does business, selling, buying, should avoid 5 things. Otherwise, he should not do business at all. 5 things must be avoided if you want to do business, means lawful business, not haram business. The hadith says that first, you must avoid usury, riba. And as you know, riba has got many types, and many people mix between riba and business. And they think that some transactions are in fact business, but in fact, these transactions are nothing but riba, usury. So number 1, which must be avoided, is riba, usury. Number 2, taking oath. Don't take oaths in business that this is this and this is that. Don't take oath at all. Number 3, never hide anything bad in your goods. Many people do business and they try to hide bad things to just make money without caring for the interest of others. So never hide anything wrong in your goods. Number 4, al-madhu idha ba'. Don't praise your goods. Don't praise your goods. Just put it for sale, and if anyone wants to buy, let him buy without you praising. Or if you want to buy something, don't say something wrong about it. Don't praise your own goods, and don't say bad about the goods that you want to buy, because some people say bad things about the goods that they want to buy to make the price lower. That is bad in Islam. 5 things must be avoided. Oh, people who want to do business: usury, taking oath, hiding the bad things in your own goods, praising your own material, and saying bad about the goods that you want to buy from others. These must be avoided to keep your business lawful business. And the Prophet said in the hadith, if you don't leave these 5 things, you should not do business at all. Walhamdulillah, wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi al-tahirin. This hadith is in the famous book Al-Khisal by Sheikh Al-Saduq, page 316. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina, for the clarification about anyone who likes to go into business, whoever is conducting business. Thank you very much. Sayyidina, we'll go straight into some of the questions that we have in front of us. So, number one, Sayyidina, is it obligatory to act upon a will made by a Muslim who wanted to be cremated after his death? Before you answer that question, Sayyidina, is it recommended also to write a will in your life? At what age should you do this? If you can, and then answer that question, please.
Number one, writing a will in general is highly recommended.
Uh-huh.
And in some cases, it becomes obligatory. It is in general highly recommended at any age. When the person is baligh, then he should write his will and keep it handy. The hadith says, keep your will under your pillow. The pillow that you sleep on, keep your will beneath it. And always, will can be changed. No doubt, will can be verbal. In Islam, the will can be verbal, not necessary to write it. But good to write, especially in the situation of the countries where we live nowadays, good to write the will, then it will be legal. So it is highly recommended to write your will. It is wajib to write the will if someone has got rights of others on him, and he has got signs of serious illness. Say someone has got serious illness which might terminate his life, and he has got rights for others on him. He must write his will, because if he does not write his will, the rights of others can be harmed. If he dies, then maybe rights of others will remain unpaid because he did not make clear will. Now, will which must be implemented must be according to the rules of Islam. When the will contains something permissible or recommended, permissible like what? When someone says that, bury me in the graveyard where my father is or my mother is buried, that is permissible. Okay? Recommended, when he says, after my demise, pay charity on my behalf, do majlis on my behalf, feed the orphans or the poor on my behalf, send someone for Hajj or Ziyarat or Umrah on my behalf. That is very good. If the will contains something not permissible, like someone writes or says that after his demise, his death, his body should be cremated. The cremation of human body is not permitted in Islam at all. It is not allowed to cremate the human body of any human being, even non-Muslim. Non-Muslim. So, cremation of human body is not allowed in Islam at all. So if a person writes in his will to be cremated, this will is that paragraph or that sentence of the will becomes invalid. It has no value at all. And more than that, it will be haram to implement anything haram in any will. See, not only invalid, because usually will must be implemented. Which will? The will which contains permissible items. But if a will contains haram items, not only the haram item of the will is invalid, but also the implementation of haram item itself is haram. No one can say that he has made a will to be cremated, so we are going to cremate him. No, it is haram. Haram at all. So the answer to the question, it is haram, not allowed at all to cremate any human being, even if he has made a will to be cremated, because the act itself is not permissible. Like, so for example, if someone says that after my death, give so and so money to distribute alcohol among people, this part of the will is invalid, and it is not permissible even to implement it. So the criteria of the will, that it should be according to the rules of Islam. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, moving on to our second question is it permissible for a Muslim to keep a dog at his home as a pet?
Is it permissible for a Muslim to keep a dog at home as a pet? The answer, it is not haram to keep a dog, especially if the dog is out of the home, out of the house, for guarding the house. Many people keep dogs in the garden, outside, not indoor, outdoor. That is permissible. But if the dog is kept indoor, then dog is najis. And anything touched by the dog with wetness becomes najis as well. So if your place of salah, your prayer mat, your cloth is touched by dog, when the dog is najis, or your cloth or your mat or any part of the house is najis, wet, then najis or nijasa, the impurity transfers from the dog to other items. So keeping a dog at home should not make your home najis. And if any part of the home became najis, you must clean it, wash it with water to make it tahir. If the dog licking, if the dog licks any plate, then the plate which was licked by a dog cannot be purified by water only. No, it must be washed first by soil with water, then water. So starting with soil with water, then with water.
So
Yes,
Sayyidina, when you talk about the nijasa itself, is it only transferred through wetness? So if the dog is dry, however, on the carpet or on the place you pray, there's hair of a dog, but it's dry, can you still pray in that condition or in that location?
Okay. If dog itself is dry, but the hair of the dog is on the carpet or on the chair or the sofa or bed or wherever. Can you pray on the carpet where hair of the dog are there? The answer is this, that the part of sajda must be tahir. When we put our forehead, sajdagah, that must be tahir, without any hair of dog. Must be tahir. But if you use your own prayer mat and the carpet has got hair of dog, but your prayer mat is above it, then no harm at all. The prayer mat is tahir. Beneath of it, hair of the dog, it won't harm your salah. In general, we don't advise the Muslims, the believers, to keep dog inside their home. Inside the home, lot of difficulties can be created because of the najasat of the dog. Yes,
thank you very much for the clarification. So, a restaurant owner who is owned by a Muslim, but the food is cooked by non-Muslims, can I consider the food as halal?
A restaurant owned by a Muslim, but the cook, the person who cooks, the chef, is non-Muslim. Can we take the food of that restaurant owned by a Muslim as halal? The answer, number one, what type of food? Because food can be containing meat, which is called non-veg. Non-veg food must be halal. Must be halal. Many Muslim restaurants owners are Muslims by name, and they buy the meat from the meat market. They don't care. They are after money only. And of course, the price of the non-halal meat is much cheaper than the price of the halal meat. That's why you find many Muslims who own restaurants, even they write halal, but in reality, they don't buy halal meat. That has been existing in hundreds of restaurants owned by Muslims. When you ask and inquire and ask the staff and see the source of the meat, you will know that the meat is not halal, though it has been sold as halal, but in fact it is not. So you cannot consume any meat if you are not sure that it is really halal meat. And the owner of the restaurant being a Muslim, that is not enough in Europe, in America, in Australia, in non-Muslim countries, not enough to take the meat as halal, because most of them buy the meat from the meat market, which is non-halal meat. Now, about the vegetarian food. Vegetarian food is in general tahir, unless you have an evidence that it was made najis by any non-Muslim touching it with wet hands or wetness. So if you eat the food which is vegetarian and you have no knowledge that it was being touched by a non-Muslim with wetness, you can take it as tahir. You can take it as tahir. But be careful. Don't take any restaurant just because it is owned by Muslim. Don't take it for granted that it is halal. No. You have to be sure that those who cook, those who prepare the food should be Muslims, or even if they are non-Muslims, they should be from the people of book, because non-Muslims can be Christians, can be Jews, people of the book. But there are non-Muslims who are not people of the book. They are mushrik, completely kafir. So those non-people of the book are najis totally. So you cannot eat any food touched by their hands with wetness, and don't take the owner only for granted. That is the answer of this question.
And also, some food in restaurants or in takeaways, they are cooked in like the same oil. So, for example, if you go to a fish and chip shop, they will have the fish that is halal that you eat, but then you have other like sausages, things like that, that are cooked in the same oil. Is it permissible to eat that fish or the chips that are cooked in the same oil?
Okay. Regarding the fish and chips, if the restaurant does not deal but only with fish and chips, only fish, the matter is easier. Why? Because the halal fish is permissible to eat.
Mm-hmm.
We have got haram fish. Haram fish, like any fish which does not have scales on it. Haram fish, despite being haram to eat, but it is not najis. Not najis. Mm-hmm. So if they fry the halal fish with the same oil used in frying the haram fish, mm-hmm. that does not harm, because haram fish is also tahir, not najis. Mm-hmm. But if they also serve non-halal meat or sausages or hot dog, any non-halal meat which is najis, that makes their oil najis. And using that najis oil in frying halal fish will make that fish najis as well. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina, for the clarification. Sayyidina, is it obligatory to sniff the water in my nose during wudu? Is my wudu valid if I can't sniff?
Sniffing the water in wudu is recommended, which is called istinshaq in Arabic. Istinshaq means to take the water in your nose up. One time is recommended, 3 times is more recommended. But it is not obligatory in wudu. It is highly recommended. Mm-hmm. And it has got also a lot of benefits for health. The scientists said that sniffing the water inside the nose makes the brain, this part of the brain wet, and that avoids many dangerous illnesses. Mm-hmm. So it is recommended, but it is not obligatory. If you don't sniff the water inside your nose, your wudu is valid and your salah is valid. If you do that, if you sniff the water, you will get more reward. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, next question regarding a middle-aged lady who needs routine genealogical checkup. can she go to a male doctor to check her up, including seeing or touching her body?
It is not permissible for any Muslim female to allow any man or any male to see, to look at her body, except the face and the hands. That's it. As you said, this check is internal usually.
Mm-hmm.
Internal. It is not allowed for a Muslim female to allow a man to look at her body or to touch her at all, unless it is real emergency, life danger. To save life, yes, but just checking without any danger is not permissible at all. In fact, it is not allowed for the female to let another female to look at her private parts.
Mm-hmm.
Even female is not allowed to look at the private parts of another female or touch, unless there is real emergency. Yes, please.
And said, no, those, for example, you have changing rooms, especially in places like gyms, where you have men changing rooms, women changing rooms, and there, is it makruh or haram to get changed in front of the same gender, where in today's gyms that you have around UK, there's males and, obviously getting changed or walking into the shower, for example, and obviously they may not even have a towel on them. So is this makruh, is this haram, or, is it better to just obviously change behind closed doors? Can you please clarify?
What is going on in many gyms and many swimming pools, as I was told, that people take off all their clothes and take shower in front of others. That is not allowed in Islam at all. Even your own son cannot take off all his clothes in front of his father, unless the child is very small, of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. More than that, no. Your own daughter cannot take off all her clothes in front of her mother completely naked, no. If she is more than 3 years. So this habit of getting completely naked to take shower in the swimming pools or gyms is not allowed. You must cover yourself or take shower in a place that no one else can look at your private parts. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, is it allowed for a Muslim to be a strict vegetarian?
Is it allowed for a Muslim to be strict vegetarian? In principle, Islam is the moderate religion and the most realistic religion. Islam does not teach any extremism in eating meat or not eating meat. Islam is the moderate religion. Allah created the food for us, and Allah told us to eat كلوا واشربوا ولا تسرفوا. Eat and drink, but don't eat more or drink more. Be moderate. So eating meat is permissible. Our Prophet used to eat meat. Our infallible Imams used to eat meat. In fact, we have got in the narration that our Imams used to fast, and their iftar was on piece of roasted meat. Shia. Sometimes they used to do either iftar, the food after fasting, on roasted meat. And in Quran also Allah says about the slaughtering of the animals. Allah said, فَكُلُوا مِنْهَا. The animal that you slaughter in Hajj, eat from it. وَأَطْعِمُوا. Then feed the poor. Which means that we must eat from that meat of the Qurbani. So to ban totally eating meat is not right at all. And if the person claims that it is wrong, if someone claims that it is wrong to eat meat, always wrong, he is then putting allegation on the Prophet and on the infallible Imams that they used to do wrong because they did eat meat. So Muslims should not be strict vegetarian. Muslims should eat little bit of meat. It is makruh to eat meat continuously. If someone eats meat every day for 40 days, his mind will be abnormal. And it is recommended to say adhan in his ear, the right ear, and iqama on his left ear, because he ate meat for 40 days continuously. And if a Muslim leaves eating meat for 40 days continuously, then his mind will be abnormal as well. And it becomes recommended to do azan on his right ear and iqama on his left ear. So neither eating meat continuously is good, nor leaving meat continuously is good. We have to be moderate. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Syed. And Syed, in Islam, does it recommend what type of meat to eat? For example, you have beef, you have lamb, you have sheep, you have like chicken. So, these are the main meat categories. But in Islam, does it recommend when you are supposed to, you should eat meat, but does it recommend what type of meat to eat?
Any halal meat is okay. Any halal meat is good.
Okay.
We have in the hadith that the milk of the cows is good for health, not the meat of it. And the meat of the sheep is good, not the milk of it. That is narrations which are in the books. But in general, any halal meat is halal.
Thank you very much indeed, Syed. Syed, is it allowed to sell lottery tickets as part of my business?
Is it allowed to sell lottery tickets as part of the business? The answer, lottery tickets are part of the gambling business. Gambling, people gamble by buying a ticket, hoping that their number might come, and most of them lose their money, and their number usually does not come. So selling the lottery tickets is part of the gambling business, and gambling is not permitted in Islam.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Sayyidina, a Muslim is a partner in a hotel which sells alcohol, but he does not take from the income of the alcohol. Is it allowed for a Muslim to be a partner in such a hotel?
A Muslim is a partner in a hotel where
Which sells
alcohol is being served, but the Muslim does not take the income of the alcohol.
That's right.
Is it permissible for him to be a partner in such hotel? The answer is no, it is not permissible. He should not put his money in a business when the business is dealing with haram. Though he is not touching the income of the alcohol, but he has already put his money in a hotel which is operating haram business. So it is not allowed for a Muslim to take part in such business. Imagine any company, say hotel company, has got shares. Is it allowed for a Muslim to buy shares in a hotel company when he knows that this hotel company serves alcohol in the hotels? The answer is it is not permissible for a Muslim to buy shares of hotel company or to invest in any hotel when there is haram business going on in this hotel. His money will be then used in the operation or funding or whatever, running haram business, and that is not allowed for a Muslim to take part in at all. Even if he does not touch the income of it, the income of the hotel or of the alcohol, but putting his money in such investment which runs unlawful business itself is not permissible.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina, for the clarification. Sayyidina, can we learn to play violin? If we have instruments at home but do not play it, can we use them or keep them, use as a decor, or do they block blessings?
Can we play?
Learn to play the violin. You know, the violin.
Yeah.
The instrument violin. And can we keep them at home if we don't play them? So, you know, the violin, they have that violin.
Musical, yeah.
Yeah, but musical instrument. If we have instruments at home but don't play them, can we keep them at home or do they block blessings?
Playing any musical instrument is not permissible in Islam. Being violin, being anything else, any musical instrument. Nowadays, many people play music on the internet, online. That also is not permissible. Music, the sinful music, which is usually used by the sinners, is not permissible to be played. So we are not allowed to play musical instruments, and we are not allowed to keep musical instruments at home. Putting it at home is type of approval, as we don't drink alcohol, and we also don't put alcohol bottles at home, because if you put bottles of alcohol at home, for people who come and see and visit you, it looks like that you are approving it. So neither we use it nor we keep it at home.
Thank you very much indeed. Sayyidina, talking of which, we have Christmas coming up not too long now. Are Muslims allowed to put up Christmas tree or give Christmas cards or put Christmas decorations or have Christmas lunch with the intention that they are celebrating with their Christian brothers or with the culture of the country they are living in? What is the ruling on that?
In general, this matter has got many issues. On one side, the Muslims living in non-Muslim countries should be very polite with the other citizens. I mean, a Muslim living with Christians, when he tells the Christian, Happy New Year, that is good. That is out of etiquette and polite behavior to tell the non-Muslim Happy New Year. But to take part in any religious practice, non-Islamic religious practice, say in the church or whatever, any religious practice where people do whatever they do, religious Muslim is not allowed to take part in any religious practice if it is non-Islamic practice. About putting the Christmas tree, many of the ulama say that it has indirect wasting money. You waste money on something which is not useful. That money can go to the poor people of your own family. Send it to your own relatives who are in need. You will get more reward. About the Christmas lunch, if it is a matter of Christian religious practice, then no. If it is matter of just cultural without any religious matter, then the matter is different. But in general, Muslims should not intimate and show that he is like non-Muslims. You are a Muslim, you should maintain your Muslim identity, your behavior, your habits. You should not forget your own identity for the sake of resembling the culture or the religious practices of others. With all respect to our co-citizens, we respect them, we cheer them, we tell them that whenever they have got their own New Year, Happy New Year, yes, but we don't compromise with our Muslim identity.
And saying that, just finally regarding the Christmas cards, can we write Christmas cards to our colleagues at work? Or
yes, of course, yes.
Wow.
Yes, it is not only permissible, it is good to do that, to send a business Christmas or Happy New Year card to your colleagues, to your neighbors, to your teachers, to your doctor. Yes, that is very good. That is out of good behavior. Yes, please.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, question regarding how do we know what Allah wants from us and whether something we want is not against what Allah likes?
How do we know what Allah wants from us? In fact, this question is part of the main knowledge required by every human being. Main knowledge is to know your Creator, number one. And number two, to know what He has granted you, to know His bounties on you. Number three, to know what He wanted from you. And number four, to know what makes you away from your religion. So to know what Allah wanted from you, Allah has sent 124,000 prophets and 300 and 13 messengers, and last and the greatest of them is the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him and his holy progeny, with full details what Allah wants from us. Allah wants from us to appreciate his bounties and thank him, and to admit our sins and seek forgiveness. Allah wants from us to be perfect human beings, to deal with others in the same way that we want others to deal with us, and talk to others in the same way that we expect and want others to talk to us. Allah wants us to be just, as Allah in Quran said, "Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsan." Allah is ordering for justice and good behavior. Adl, justice; ihsan, to be more good than justice. Allah wants from us to utilize our time in beneficial acts. Allah wants us to be very nice to our parents, and very good to our relatives, and very good to every human being. Allah wants us to remember him, especially on the obligatory daily prayers, and perform our prayers on time, and perform our fasting and all the obligatory worships. Allah wants from us to be proper human beings, and the proper human being is the person who obeys Allah in doing good and serves others for the sake of Allah as much as he or she can.
Thank you very much, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, on a similar question to what I've just asked, so that as human beings, we want appreciation. We want to have credit, be credited or valued. Of course, in society that we live in the places that we work, among our family members, community members. Sayyidina, what is the duty of a Muslim in terms of appreciating someone or thanking someone for their hard work, for their dedication, for the goodness that they've done, or a good deed they've done, or they've been successful at a project? And what if a Muslim doesn't appreciate, doesn't give thanks, doesn't acknowledge? What does Islam say about this, Sayyidina?
Islam says, the hadith says, "Man la yashkur al-makhluq, la yashkur al-khaliq." The person who does not appreciate the human being does not appreciate the bounties of Allah, which means that the real Muslim is the person who always appreciates the good deeds of others. And a person who ignores appreciating the good deed of others is doing wrong. That is away from the justice. We should not deal with the good and bad in the same way. If someone does bad, we don't say anything about him. If someone does good, we must say that he did good, and we should appreciate and be grateful and support and show our gratitude to anyone who does good. Again, I say, the hadith says, a person who does not appreciate and thank the efforts of the human beings does not appreciate the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And Sayyidina, we find people that if a person makes a mistake or person, does something wrong, that wrong is it's expanded, or it's blown out of proportion to such an extent that they don't think about the goodness the person has done. So what does Islam say about
that? Is away from the justice. Justice means look at the points of the person. How many negative points and how many positive points? Allah, the Creator, when Allah deals with people in the Day of Judgment, Allah does not neglect or abolish the good deeds. That's why we have got mizan, scale in which the good deeds are put in one side and the bad deeds are put on the other side. So the believer should be just, and he should not look in one eye only. He should look in both eyes, and he should put the plus points in one side and the minus points on the other side, and then he can come out with the reasonable judgment.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina, for the clarification, Sayyidina. Thank you indeed. Sayyidina, moving on to our next question. Is there any dua that can help me to get a job in a place where people or colleagues are kind, are God-fearing, and morally strong?
Any dua to help getting good job in good place? There are many du'as. You can seek from Allah in your own language. Oh Allah, grant me a good job with good people. Also, if you repeat astaghfirullah, 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 repeating astaghfirullah is one of the ways to get good income, means good job. Also, repeating the salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, it has got great impact on your income. It will be more blessed. Also, performing Salatul Layl, Namaz al-Shab, night prayer, has got great impact on your income. Also, ziyarat of Ashura every day. Also, daily sadaqah, charity. When you give sadaqah, you will get back multiplications of blessings and barakat. These are some ways to get more income. One of the useful things as well is to go to the grave of your parents if they are not alive. Go to their grave and pray near their graves. The dua near the graves of the parents is accepted. Also, one of the ways to get very good job and good income with good people, to pray for the mu'mineen. Pray for the mu'mineen who are in need of job to get good job. You will then get good job. Whatever you pray for the others, Allah will grant you what you prayed for others.
Thank you very much indeed, Sayyidina. Sayyidina, I have heard that there is a dua or a namaz that, if performed regularly, can help you see your future. Is this true?
Seeing the future is not in our hand and not in our limitation. Seeing the future is within the unseen. We cannot see our future. Simply. The Prophet can, because the Prophet is being granted from the unseen, which is known by Allah. The infallible Imam can, that also from the unseen, granted by Allah to the Prophet, and from the Prophet to the infallible Imam. But we cannot see our future. We hope for best future, and we seek from Allah to grant us and our families best future. We cannot see the future as far as we know in the hadith that no one can see, but only when our life ends, then we will see our future. How? Last moments of our life, the mu'min will see the infallible imams, and they will give him the good news of his good future in the paradise. So that time, the mu'min will see his future in paradise.
Thank you very much. Leading on from what you just said, a question regarding that. I think about death a lot, and I'm afraid of dying. What should I do?
You are afraid from dying. My respected brother or sister, people are scared of death because they think wrongly about death. Death is not a disaster, but only to the enemies of Allah. But for the believers, death is a bounty. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, our second Imam, was asked about death. He replied in the narration that death is the most happiest day for the believer. The happiest day for the believer is the day of his death, because he will be transferred from life which has got difficulties, illnesses, hardships, to a life of bounties only and mercy only. So death is not something that we should be frightened of. On the contrary, the mu'min who understands what is death should be expecting death and keen to meet death, as we read in the ziyarat Ameen, which is recited when you visit any of the infallible imams. مشتاقة إلى فرحة لقائك. O Allah, keep me always keen to meet the pleasure of death. The pleasure of death. The pleasure of death for the believers who will see the great reward from Allah, who will enjoy the great mercy of Allah. So don't misunderstand death, and then you will know that you should not fear at all, but always seek from Allah to grant you more good deeds so that your death will be happier and happier, inshallah.
Thank you very much indeed, Syed. Indeed, a very important answer and question for all of us who are listening. Syed, again, another related question regarding the supplications. What are some of the supplications that we can read when one becomes ill? For example, the coronavirus, or when the seasons are changing, the body changes and it invites sickness and illness. What are the best way to keep protected?
We can first give sadaqah with the intention of keeping good health for ourselves and our families. Charity to protect yourself and your family from illness. Number two, reciting وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ, a Quranic verse in Surah Al-Shu'ara, ayat number 80. وَإِذَا مَرِضْتُ فَهُوَ يَشْفِينَ. That is great in getting cured. Also reciting short dua, which is Ya Waliya al-Afiyah. Ya Waliya al-Afiyah. نسألك العافية. This short dua is also very great in keeping good health and keeping protected from illnesses. And if you want good health always, don't miss the night prayer. And also follow the medical teachings which we have from the Prophet and Ahlul Bayt. Number one, don't eat unless you are really hungry. Don't eat if you are not hungry. Number two, when you eat, don't fill your stomach. Eat, but not to fill your stomach at all. Keep 1/3 for your food, 1/3 for your water and drinks, and 1/3 for your breathing. Then before going to bed, go to the toilet. That is also very important and mentioned in many hadiths. Don't go to bed before going to the toilet first. Also, when you eat, take small parts of the food, small lot of the food, luqma they call it, small, not big. Don't fill your mouth with food, and chew it. The chewing should be properly done. Chew it properly. That also will help a lot in keeping healthy. The hadith says that if you eat less, you will be healthy. And also, if you fast, you will be healthy. All these are ways to keep your body healthy, inshallah.
Inshallah. And saying that, just finally, I think we have run out of time. Just finally, if we can end today's show with some final few words from yourself.
I would like to remind my respected brothers and sisters that nowadays, with the day becoming very short, it is a golden chance for us to fast. If you have qaza fast, now is the best time to keep qaza fast. If you don't have qaza fast, then fast recommended fasting. Great reward and great benefits for your health and for your akhirat. Fasting teaches us tolerance, makes our willpower stronger, and makes shaitan away from us. And the person who fasts for the sake of Allah, Allah will make him happy. And the gifts of Allah are more than our expectation. So fast and remind your dear ones to fast as much as they can, starting with the qada if you have any qaza fast, and then after qaza fast is over, then recommended fast.
Thank you very much indeed, Syed. Now, with those beautiful wise words from our Islamic scholar, dear viewers, thank you for joining us this evening. Do join us same time next week when our